Hi, it's Anne from the Wilburg Memorial Public Library, and I'm coming to you with one of the library Spices Up Your Life recipes. This month we are going to make a recipe out of fika, the art of Swedish coffee break, and this recipe is called Muskotsnittar. If you know Swedish better than I probably pronounced that totally wrong, or in English, nutmeg slices. So our spice this month is nutmeg, and this is a really easy recipe to make, and I hope you try it and enjoy it. So for this recipe, you're going to need 2/3 cup of firmly packed brown sugar, 1 tablespoon ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon ground ginger, and our spice of the month, nutmeg. So this is what nutmeg looks like whole. For your packet, if you picked up one of the recipes and spice kits from the library, you will have already ground nutmeg. But I'm going to go ahead and grate some of the nutmeg, so you have a microplane grater that you grate it on. And we'll just grate out a teaspoon or so here, because you need a teaspoon of the nutmeg. And the advantage of using the whole nutmeg and grating it when you need it is that your spice will stay fresher longer. All right, so just to show you what the inside of the nutmeg seed looks like, it's kind of like that, and we've got about a teaspoon there. And then we need, and this is a very odd number, 17 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature, and 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So that is all of our ingredients. So there's only 6 ingredients, 3 of which are spices. So it's a great recipe. And the fun thing with this recipe too is you're gonna get your hands into this one. So this is probably a fun one to make with kids, because they can get their hands dirty and in it. So the first thing we're gonna do is put our 2/3 cup of brown sugar in the bowl, and then all of our spices. So our cinnamon, our nutmeg, and our ginger. And then go ahead and mix this up, and you can go ahead and just use your hands on this. If you want, you can use a spoon, of course. So you just want to get that brown sugar all broken up and the spices mixed into it. So this is a great recipe to make and add to your Christmas platters of cookies. Again, it's really simple and easy. The thing that takes time with this is you do eventually refrigerate this dough before you bake it. But that gives you just time to make something else in those 30 minutes when we're refrigerating it. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then we'll add our 17 tablespoons of softened butter. And I did cut my butter up. That's one way to make sure that the butter gets softened. If maybe you forgot to take it out of the fridge, just cut it up into cubes, and that will help it to soften quicker. So I am going to use a mixer here to cream the butter into the sugar. right, so we've got that creamed in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start adding the flour. And I'm going to add about half at a time to start with. And I'm going to use a spatula also to start here. So we just kind of want to get this mixed in, this first part of flour. And you could probably use your hand mixer again if you wanted to. But you just kind of smush it in there. All right, so now I'm going to add that second half of the flour, so the second cup. There we go. And now I'm actually going to get my hands in here. So you want to make sure that you have washed your hands well before you start doing this. But it's kind of like making Play-Doh and playing with Play-Doh. And again, this is where it might be fun if you've got kids to help you make this, because they can get their hands in there and smush this dough around. And what you're looking to do is make sure you get all the flour incorporated. And also we're going to create a nice firm dough. And if you wanted to, you could probably take and knead this out on the countertop if you want, but I kind of like to keep it more or less contained in a bowl while I'm doing this. And you just kind of start kneading it. We're getting there. This is probably the hardest part of making this recipe. So now you can kind of knead it more like a traditional bread dough like you would need. And you can see it's coming together nicely. Pretty much have cleaned everything out of the bowl here. Get all the bits. And we're just gonna form it into a disc in here. And I just leave it in the bowl, but we're gonna cover it with some plastic wrap, and then we're gonna put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes to firm up, and then we will come back and form it into the cookies. All right, so our cookie dough has chilled for 30 minutes. We'll take it out here. So it's firmed up nicely, and we're just going to cut this into quarters. And you'll want to have 2 cookie sheets ready, and you can either grease them or put parchment paper. I like to use parchment paper. So on each cookie sheet you'll be able to put 2 of the logs that we're going to create. And if you don't have 2 cookie sheets, go ahead and just use 1 at a time, but let the cookie sheet cool completely before putting the second set of cookies onto the sheet. So we're just going to form this into a log about 12 to 14 inches long, and don't worry if it cracks while you're doing this and breaks up, because you're gonna be pressing it together. The dough is very malleable, as you can see. And it doesn't have to be exact, so don't worry about that too much. All right, so we've got 1 done, and we'll do the second one here. And again, this is a fun thing for kids to do. It's just like playing with Play-Doh. You Just want to make sure you've got nice clean hands and a clean countertop. All right, so we've got our 2 logs here, about the same size, and we're going to just move those onto our cookie sheet. And you want them at least 2 inches apart from each other, because now what we're going to do is we're going to just flatten them out to about a 1/4 inch thickness, and kind of get your ends squared off. And we'll do this one. Just kind of smush it down here. All right, that end squared. So they're more or less even. They definitely don't have to be perfect. That's another beauty of these. You know, rolled cutout sugar cookies are beautiful, but there's something nice about the ease of these cookies. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time doing it, and you end up with something delicious. So now you're going to take a fork and you're just going to press it in to the top all the way along. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just provides a little decoration, kind of helps you even out your cookie. And then do both of them. And then we're going to put these into an oven that's been preheated to 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, or until they're slightly browned. And it's a little hard to tell because of course your dough is already brown. Go back over here so we get nice impressions on these. All right. So we'll put these in the oven and we will see you back here once they're done baking. So the cookies have baked for 15 minutes and then cooled for another 10 minutes once you take them out, and they're ready to be cut. So you're just going to cut them on an angle. Let's see here. Maybe we'll do both of them at the same time. And probably about 1 inch wide. There you go. So you can cool these, let them finish cooling completely, but you can see these are a great cookie. They freeze well, and they are a nice addition to a Christmas cookie platter. So I hope you enjoy the Muskotsnittar or nutmeg slices and enjoy your month of nutmeg.